Hi there. Welcome back. When we left ST, he had finally found Oneida, and who turned out to be an octopus in the aquarium in Seattle, um, and had a very meaningful and enlightening conversation with Oneida. Um, so, anyway, here we go. Chapter 10, ST, outside the Seattle Aquarium, Seattle, Washington, USA. Since it was relatively quiet around this section of Alaska Way, and darkness was spreading its velvety wings, unimpeded by a single street lamp or headlight, I rode Dennis under the Alaskan Way viaduct and found a spot that looked like it had been a camp for a homeless mofo. Big Jim and I knew a lot of homeless mofos from our various adventures together, and we gave them dirty dollar bills and fireball whiskey. Big Jim said that they served their fucking country and in return got told they were trash, and they must have believed it because they were always ferreting around the dumpsters. It wasn't a perfect shelter, but with the vines and English ivy hanging down in limp sheets from the enormous concrete structure, it would do us for a night. Dennis even used his unparalleled snuffer to track down a bag of Fritos ingeniously stashed in a removable concrete block, which he pawed loose. We shared them in the blackness, though I confiscated the accompanying small bat of heroin. Dennis still wasn't tremendously stable. Minutes later, Dennis was doing his ritualistic series of pirouettes and coiling himself into a tidy ball on a pile of wool blankets. I watched him closely from my perch as he snored gently, his fawn body rising up and down, wondering how he could get to sleep so well without the rumble of a TV. His wound looked a hell of a lot better. Scabbing had started, but he certainly wouldn't be winning Best in Show anytime soon. I suddenly thought of the only other non-mofo I was able to stomach being around. Gubari was an African gray, a bird who could count and do perfect impressions and articulate a dictionary of mofo words. A creature whose crackling genius so closely aligned with his mofo owners, he filled me with envy. I ruffled my feathers, shaking off the thought of Rohan, Gubari's kind mofo, who had taught Big Jim how to take care of me when I was a leaf-skinned nestling with cornflower blue eyes and a sugar-pink mouth. Back when I believed tiny mofos lived in traffic lights and clouds were flying cotton. I didn't dare imagine what had happened to the African gray and his owner after Gubari had sent me the aura message to stay inside my house. I just couldn't swallow anymore. Sad thoughts. Dennis started to dream, through snorts and thin whistles and a kick that whipped off his starchy blanket. I dropped down and gingerly covered him. I studied Dennis's breath and his vibrant clouds in hopes that he dreamt of better days. Perhaps of when we'd play chase around the Green Mountain sugar maple in the yard, a rambunctious game of tag where I'd pull his tail and he'd lope after me with a goofy smile, wrinkles lagging behind him. Big Jim watched over our frolicking, calling us a couple of goobers, and even the Green Mountain sugar maple and the crocosmias would shake with laughter. I missed the Green Mountain and its sweet voice, and how it erupted into colors of a Caribbean cocktail come fall. I missed our tree and our home, how it would bleed sap when it recalled memories too painful to share because it knew that holding things in is toxic. I hope Dennis was dreaming of those days. I lulled myself by reliving those moments, feeling the kiss of dandelion cotton on my wings as I tagged Dennis, "You're it!" and fallen asleep to the sugary tones of the Green Mountain saying, "Renaissance, Renaissance." I woke before Dennis, breathlessly watching the sun rise, and baptized the skyline in buttery tones. What an act of beauty, of unwavering faith, something to look forward to each and every day. Big Jim always said that nothing worth a shit pile happens before 9 a.m., but still, I wish I could have shown him this. As beautiful as the sunrise was, my heart was a boulder in my chest that would make it hard to fly. All the winged, even fungus gnats, know that you cannot fly if you're carrying too much weight with you. It's a well-known adage, actually. The light of heart is free to fly. Woodpeckers inscribe it into a lot of trees, those vandalizing assholes. I miss the sounds of Seattle, the percussive rhythm of people, the clicking of heels, the throttle of an engine, the throb of a subwoofer, the siren song of an ice cream truck, the babble of caffeinated conversation. How I had to cock my head to digest a different accent, and boy, did I miss the invigorating chucka 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 of a chopper tracking down a sneaky mofo. Lawnmower and motorbike and Beyonce. Oh my. I missed tidy, fresh cut grass. All this long, tangled turf and greedy green devouring buildings made me nervous and also made an excellent case for the Homeowners Association's strident rules. Moss, especially the Spanish kind, is a deadly conquistador, dampening the sounds and edges of the city right before my eyes. Mofos kept a tight order to things, the world cupped in their hands, squeezing when necessary. I thought of the Green Mountain again, about how Big Jim had to trim it yearly to stop it from taking over the yard, and so one day it didn't fucking fall over and crush our house like a can of Coors Light. Our house belonged to Green Mountain now. Maybe that wasn't so bad. Maybe Green Mountain deserved it the most. Though Seattle had lost its beat, it had gained song. A charm of Finch's called out on Aura, speaking of a pending meeting in a swimming pool in Bellevue for communal bathing and where the one who spits was, with a warning to avoid him. A white-crowned sparrow squatted on the viaduct ledge brazenly close to me, a bossy little so-and-so, you know the type. He belted out a lively ditty about believing in oneself, which he obviously had zero issues with, the air cool enough to see the notes dancing from his songbird throat. The monumental show-off? Psst, singers, am I right? Satisfied he'd shown me up, he darted off. And then a creature I couldn't identify bellowed, and it sounded like, "How, how," and Aura fell silent. I used the time to do some anting, which is a sort of manscaping I perform by rubbing pulverized ants all over my feathers to make them shiny and, ironically, keep insects off of me. As I waited for Rip Van Winkle's As I waited for Rip Van Winkles to awake, I thought about the other Dennises out there. How many more of him were there, creatures who'd been loyal and good to the mofos, creatures who depended on them for water and love and milk bones, creatures who, like me, hadn't been born in the wild and didn't know the law of life, creatures with scales or bristles or down, slobbering tongues, good hearts, gentle souls, and soft mouths, creatures who knew the magic of mofos, what they give us in protection and affection, what it means to love them with all of your heart and nose and beak. The feeling of those funny bald fingers that can open books and cans of fried beans gently sliding down your back. Mofo is family. Oneida was brilliant, the oracle of the ocean, but I couldn't believe everything she said. I couldn't believe in my heart that there were no mofos out there, that some hadn't hunkered down somewhere and kept their necks straight. I had hope, and feathers know that hope is the very thing that allows one to fly. I thought of the dirty minivan on I-5 South with the superhero family decal on it. That's what it was all about, being together and saving the world. When mofos and the furred and feathered worked together, it was beautiful and unstoppable. It is what nature intended. I was thrilled when Dennis woke up. Turns out it's very dangerous to be left alone with your mind. And without Seattle's beatbox, I was really hearing mine. Dennis was less thrilled. He leapt to his feet, hairs bristling up the ridge of his back. He sniffed at the sun and back down to the ground, pivoting and shifting his weight. A rumble released from his throat. Something was wrong. I didn't have time to ask him what. Before I could shake off the remaining ant carcasses, I saw the cause of his anguish. They emerged from a multi-layered parking structure, trotting toward the viaduct, toward us. I launched high to get a broader look. I counted 8 of them, which is lucky since I can only count to 9. I didn't like how all their weight was forward, tails and ears standing to attention as they cautiously neared us. To them, Dennis was guilty until proven innocent. The pack encroached, blatantly disrespecting the boundaries of territory and personal space. Bringing up the rear, some sort of mutt, rangy as a setter with oil-slicked fur and a long-legged white mongrel, mud-caked and mischievous. A black and white dog with border collie and battery acid in him slunk in front of them, his nose intermittently tightening into a snarl. A terrier and a brown-white pointer padded in front of them, tailing identical brindle dogs and one very large, sinister flea bag that resembled an African social weaver's nest. In front, a German shepherd mix skulked forward. A gray scar swam angrily down his muzzle, and next to him, the muscle, a rust-colored chow, blue tongue hanging out like a dead lizard. Oh shit. I think that might be 10 or 13. I told you my counting sucks. I started to panic. I could tell because I was bouncing in place, perched high on the viaduct. Dennis stood his ground, guarding his only possessions in this new world, the mass of smelly blankets and an empty pack of Fritos. I launched into the air, scanning my eye view. Escape. I had to find an escape route in case this interaction went south. The mofos at Pike Place weren't far off, and I couldn't risk luring Dennis toward them, so I had to figure out something better. A bevy of black-tailed deer caught my eye, grazing on a thicket of brambles below. To the gentle grazing, that's where we'd head. I lowered and got the shock of a lifetime. This isn't your territory. Wait, what? The German Shepherd was so articulate, so eloquent. That's mine, the chow gestured to the urine-soaked blanket. I stared, slack-beaked, at Dennis. Nothing. So I did a quick check all around me, almost blown out of the sky by the cosmic skullduggery I was experiencing. Of all the dogs and all of this supposedly round ball the size of like 1,000 Seattles, I got stuck with the only one who speaks almost entirely through body language. The Tarzan of the canine world? You've got to be fucking kidding me. This, and we were about to initiate World War III over the planet's shittiest blanket? Dennis's lack of response and general staring in a bow-legged provocative stance incited a symphony of growls. Not good. Not good at all. The chow and the shepherd inched forward. Hey there, fellas, I said to the encroaching canines. Let's be civil about this, all right? Let's talk about this man to man. He has my blanket, said the shepherd, flashing milk-white fangs. I'm confused, I said. Is this your Malodorous blanket or the chow's? The shepherd's bark could not cut through skulls. He snarled a final warning. All right, I said. How about we give you the blanket and get on our way here? No harm done, right? Dennis showed no indication of moving away from the blanket. Have I mentioned that hounds are stubborn? Give me the blanket, came a rumble from the chow. Dennis, you heard him. Step aside, I said with a shake in my voice. Dennis didn't budge. He just stood there like a witless wonder. But I knew he knew exactly what was going on, and he just wasn't about to relinquish a rag that was so plentifully bestrewn with mildew and smelled like French cheese. Listen, you guys, how about we talk about what's been happening in this world? We can work together. Imagine how strong we'd be. How long have you been out there as a pack? Did you guys have owners? You there, Shaggy. I see you have a collar. What's your story? I was stalling. You are weak, dog, said the chow to Dennis. Remove yourself from the idiot bird's command. Idiot? I asked. Seriously? Are we? Never mind. If you all could just back up a little and give Dennis some space, then I'm sure he'll gladly give you. You are doomed, spat the chow with a flash of tongue, dark purple in the shadow of fangs. You're nothing without a pack. You will die because of this black bird. The pack inched forward, muzzles lowered. Dennis released a string of drool. I had to do something before they ripped him to shreds. The collie's nose wrinkled. A blue tongue retreated behind white canines, and that was enough for me. I plummeted beak first like a supermarine Spitfire. I mobbed those fuckers. I dove at the chow first, snatching a beakful of his fluff and spitting it out midair as I shot at the shepherd. The muzzle with the gray scar swiped my side as I snatched his tail and pulled hard. The dogs lunged, the pack circling me. I shot upward to safety with loud cries of "Liberty or death!" I careened back down toward the giant shaggy nest monster and body checked him, coming in feet first and bouncing off the collie, who was a hurricane of black and white, fang and fur and fury. I was Bruce Lee of the fucking sky, wings and feet and lightning, but the pack wised up fast. The collie, setter, white mongrel, and the brindles all snapped at me, lunging in the air. The terrier was feisty but too short to catch the black bolt of badassery darting above. But now my pokes and jabs and fur snatching were no longer keeping the real threats. The chow, the shepherd, the pointer, and the shaggy a-hole from slinking toward Dennis. I had to lure him away. I was just opening up my throat, preparing to call Dennis when he bolted. Dennis shot down the underside of the viaduct, dodging cars and shopping carts, dead rats, blood stains, and the twisted fingers of brambles, racing past the Highway 99 Blues Club and Seattle Antiques Market, with me flapping hard to keep up with the pack caught on his heels. He burst from the viaduct and onto Alaskan Way, nails clicking as he ran, ears like wings in a blizzard, passing Ivor's acres of clams and Seattle's Fire Station 5, veering into the open air parking lot of the Seattle Ferry Terminal. He weaved in and out of Chryslers and Lexuses and Corollas, all of it too fast for me to stop him. The dogs all skidded to a halt. I treaded the air, flapping my anxiety. What was happening? Next to the gargantuan wheels of a semi truck, whose head was buried deep inside the toll booth it had smashed into, was a white dog with beige patches, an American pit bull terrier. She cowered next to the wheel, pink nose lowered, her hind leg quivering, which made the pink collar around her neck tinkle out a haunted jingle. Her tail was hidden, tightly tucked between the pink skin of her jittery legs, and although she was entirely not my flavor or species, she was a very nice looking specimen who happened to be in the throes of heat. The pack dropped their beef with Dennis and started that well rehearsed skulk toward the delicate white canine who licked her lips on loop, eyes flickering back and forth. Terror filled her hazel eyes before those trembling legs shot her away from the truck and down the empty freeway, disappearing further into the precarious future. The pack thundered after her, sinister barks echoed. Exhausted, I slumped onto the top of a butterfly bush that erupted from the cracked pavement, peering down at Dennis. He flopped onto an exposed slab of warm tarmac, panting. I hopped down next to him to inspect his condition. He seemed fine, that resilient fucker. I felt relief that we were still sucking air. This half-mute murder would see another sunrise. And then the anger. A jolting, acerbic anger that made blood rise to my head, pumping a furious baseline. That feral pack of dogs were probably at one point beloved companions, well-fed friends, and here they were, reduced to thuggery, no better than a gaze of ruffian raccoons. Common thieves, bullies, scoundrels. Is this how we pay homage to our mofos, to the ones who taught us how to be in the world, how to live our best lives and be as comfortable as possible at all times? I felt for the poor, pretty little American pit bull terrier who had a name and who had probably been waiting all this time for her mofo to find her. And now we all knew what would happen to her. I'd seen it go down in a few of Big Jim's more populated pornos. I felt a powerful pang of relief that I wasn't female. It seemed that being female meant to be prey, even among your own species. All of it made me think of Dennis's testicles. Whoa, geez, not like that. You see, when Dennis was young and basically an ottoman of folds, Big Jim went to the vet complaining about the amount of action his right leg was getting. The vet advised Big Jim to have Dennis neutered. Big Jim kicked up a calamitous fuss about this, declaring it an assault on all manhood. He punched a feline leukemia pamphlet display onto the vet's shiny floor and stormed out. A week later, legs swaddled in vulcanized rubber fishing pants, he returned and ordered Dennis's huevos be rancheroed. All this time I had thought it a bit barbaric and felt vindicated in not having dangly bits. But here we were, breathing, murder intact because of this decision. Clever, forward-thinking mofos. Because he's modified and civilized, Dennis wouldn't desert me to chase some tail. Enough was enough. Oneida was right. I wasn't going to sit here and do nothing while the domestics rotted away or turned into a bunch of brutish buttholes. Mofos made laws against this sort of behavior for a reason. I was going to step up and do the mofo thing, take responsibility and bring peace to a world that was falling apart without them. We were losing what makes us human, losing the very best part of us. Even if what Oneida said was right, that the part that makes the mofos human has flown away, well then, what made me human was here to roost. And I would not watch the spirit of a species wither and die. I was going to take back the world and restore it to its glistening glory, and take a stand against the bears and the sick mofos and the wild dog packs. I was going to find my allies, the domestics, and give them back the world they knew. But first, lunch. Dennis and I raided the subway at the ferry terminal. The building gauzed in the castles of spiders who cherished its cool shade. We found the windows busted, the cockroaches celebrating, and the bread to be suspiciously well preserved for its age. Dennis carried 2 loaves for us to enjoy, dragging them over to the water's edge. I dunked my portion in the water for an easy swallow and a touch of seasoning. We took in the view. A yellow crane lay still like a fallen giraffe, its head broken and shattered. We admired Bainbridge Island across the water, a bouquet of trees guarded by the icing caps of the Olympic Mountains. We turned our heads right to see the Seattle Great Wheel, our city's Ferris wheel, alive with mofos, their twisted heads and spidery hands bent wrong at the joints, shimmying and swinging. The whale used to be white, now it was tainted by crawling, cadaverous bodies and their red slime, their violent endings. Safe at this distance, we tuned them out to enjoy the quiet view of Elliott Bay. There we were, a bare mauled bloodhound and a crow covered in ant carcasses. Not my best look. Alive against all odds. We chowed down on Subway while watching a fairy, a creature of the utmost breathtaking beauty, her bold body a testament to the magic of mofos. The fairy, a powerful and indefatigable swimmer, was winter white with rims of forest green. She was called M.V. Winnichie, and she was a beauty, even as the water roiled and bubbled around her, sucking her down, down, down. Even as she groaned under the pressure and beautiful parts of her snapped and cracked, I bowed to Lady Wenatchee, silently thanking her for her service. Mofos with sanguinary eyes and vacuous glares were clubbing their heads on her inside windows as her whole body, noble nose taking its last inhale, was swallowed by Elliott Bay. I said goodbye, digesting bread and big plans, my heart throbbing with purpose. That's chapter 10. Looking forward to seeing you next time.